and welcome to GGSP.
Ah! Coming up on the show, we vie for a Viking victory on the icy battlefields of the Banner Saga 3.
Plus, a bit of silly snooker strategy in Pool Panic.
And I get to grips with the latest in Toys to Life games, Starlink Battle for Atlas.
The Legion is growing. There aren't enough of us.
You two look amazing. Oh, did you know that Viking is an Old Norse word which means to go pirating? So actually, you two are pirates.
I prefer Scandinavian she-warrior.
There you go. Now you're one of us. To the ships!
Brad, imagine a game of pool, but there's puzzles and obstacles everywhere, and the balls have legs, and they keep running around, and sometimes they scream at you, and sometimes they're chickens.
Oh, that sounds stressful. I think I'm panicking.
Well, that's perfect, because this is Pool Panic. Panic is a zany spin on pool, which is very vaguely linked to the real-world game. In fact, the tagline is the world's least realistic pool simulator.
Yeah, about the only similarities are that you use a white ball to knock other balls into holes, ending with an 8-ball. Gameplay largely involves lining up a shot and hitting it either hard or soft. But in a non-traditional spin, you can also run around the field to give yourself a new angle. At first, this feels like cheating, like it makes everything too easy. But this is not the case.
Not at all. You'll need to contend with each ball having a mind of its own, many of whom have no intention of going quietly. And if that's not enough, you're very rarely playing on a nice, orderly table. There's a huge variety of areas with a few maps in each, and they'll all bring something different. Not only are there interesting themes, but each present new challenges and new puzzles.
This is where the creativity of the game really starts to shine through, because while the gameplay of hitting balls around largely stays the same, what you're doing with it changes drastically, and frankly, it's impressive.
Totally, same, but different. There's always balls to sink, and often you'll need a bit of trial and error to figure out how to do this, because the map will be so different. It really stops you from feeling bored.
Yeah, the variety's exciting, isn't it? I really liked the farm levels. Mowing grass to reveal and then sink fox balls, or knocking chickens over a barn door was lots of fun, and it gave me a bit of a chuckle. It also wasn't immediately obvious what I had to do, which can sometimes be frustrating, but mostly it was a fun puzzle.
I really dug the chessboard levels. Squares of the floor drop away after you pass over them, which you can use to clear the board if you don't fall down yourself. This process of learning what each map is about also brings in an element of replayability.
Affirmative, Gem. Each level has 4 trophies you can earn for finishing under a certain time, within a certain number of shots, without sinking your white ball, or for sinking all balls in a level. You can still complete the level without earning any trophies, but it does add a nice bit of incentive to improve if you enjoy the challenge.
I really like games that are accessible and allow you to progress even if you're not highly skilled, but also give you an extra challenge if you want it.
Yeah, plus the game doesn't dumb anything down for you. Nothing is really explained other than the basics of how to play. This forces you to just go on a journey of discovery. At the same time, the game is very silly.
Oh, super silly. And I think this is Pool Panic's greatest strength and weakness. The craziness is certainly part of the creativity, but sometimes it feels like too much. It's weird and surreal, almost for the sake of just being so, which can be a little ineffective. There were parts that I just really didn't vibe with, that I could tell were meant to be funny or amusing, but they just didn't work for me.
I really liked it, especially because of that cool cartoony style. It has a super solid, fun, hand-drawn look, which really makes the game stand out. It's well-crafted and truly feels like a world where pool balls live. I agree that zaniness might not be for everyone, but it worked for me because of that great cartoon style.
Oh, it is striking, isn't it? The world map is particularly fantastic, as you can move through a miniature rendition of each course and get a taste for how varied the game is. It has over 100 levels and numerous mini-challenges. I also think I might have liked this map better because the faces are kind of cute and silly and not quite as unsettling as they can be on the individual courses.
They can be a bit full-on. Final thoughts, Red?
Pool Panic is a highly creative game that takes a rather simple gameplay mechanic and does a whole lot with it. It looks great, it plays well, you just have to decide if you find the wackiness charming or uncomfortable. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.
I kept wanting one more go just to see what the next level would be like. And to keep me interested in hitting a ball into a hole for so long is pretty impressive in my opinion. I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 rubber chickens.
Oh dear, the jacket's developed a new scent. I'm getting cheese, banana, popcorn, rad. Oh well, time to sniff out the scoop. And first up, Google has recruited a former PlayStation VR engineer to what some are calling its console division. Richard Marks worked in Sony's Magic Lab department for new technologies and will now join Google's Advanced Technology and Projects department. Earlier this year, rumours of a new Google gaming console and game streaming service under the codename Yeti were churning. This latest news sure adds a bit of fuel to the rumour mill, even if we are still left to wonder, are we there, Yeti? And next, 7-year-old Penny McDonald has created a game, released it on digital game platform Steam, and has been scoring some pretty positive reviews. With nothing but a copy of QBasic and a bit of guidance from her game developer dad, Penny created Answer the Question, a game of infinite math questions. The user reviews have praised her efforts in making this simple and educational game. Goes to show you're never too young to start making games. Moving on, and while the No Man's Sky Next update has generally been welcomed, there have been some not-so-stellar side effects for some players. Like changes in the way that spaceships appear after the new update. One player in particular who lost their favourite ship is offering the equivalent of 200 million in-game units as a reward to anyone who can find a match for the long-lost craft. Perhaps it's all just a ruse to teach the lesson that the best ship of all is actually friendship. And finally, who'da thunk a NES Classic could outsell a PS4, Switch, and Xbox One? Unit sales data for the month of June revealed that yes, the mini NES Classic was the highest unit-selling hardware platform in the US, despite the fact that it was only available again in stores on June 29. The unit is loaded with 30 classic NES games like Super Mario Bros., Metroid, and The Legend of Zelda, to name a few. It seems the nostalgia is strong in this market, and now it's time for the extra scoop. This week we've been tipped off by a viewer known as Mega Me about the discovery of a secret Metroid hiding in Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This Easter egg that players have been searching out for years was recently found in the Abyss level by player Shane Marchis. It's triggered by DK taking damage and backtracking at a specific spot in an underwater tunnel, at which point the Metroid emerges. Cool. And remember, if you've come across a good extra scoop like Mega Me has, then you can let us know right here. Now, I better get this jacket off to the dry cleaners again. Hopefully they can do something about these stubborn cheese stains. There's another sandwich in here, guys! A jacket is not a fridge. Come on. No one will stop me now! Not if I have anything to say about it. Mamma mia! It belongs in a museum. Pew, pew, pew. Stop that. Stop that. You know, for the longest time, this was the only real way you could bring your toys to life. Then, thanks to some trendy tech, video games came along and decided to give our imaginations a bit of a break and do some of that work for us. Thus, a new cross-genre of game was born known as Toys to Life. One of the earliest examples of these real-world crossovers was the PC title You Be Funkies, created back in 2007 by toy company Mattel. While the game itself was extremely basic, the concept of collecting physical characters, which were essentially dressed-up USB sticks, successfully paved the way for larger video game studios to further develop the technology and ideas.
Let's do this! Introducing Skylanders Swap Force.
Early entries like Skylanders introduced gamers to the concept of using a portal, essentially a base plugged directly into your console that allowed the swapping in and out of figures to change characters on the fly. The real magic going on here was thanks to the use of near-field communicator or radio frequency identification chips in the base of the figurines that could be used to identify each toy and even store players' save data. Suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of the Toys to Life pie. Disney jumped on board with their Toy Box Infinity series. Nintendo built their reader into some of their hardware, creating amiibos, mascot figures that could be used in multiple games. Even Lego, an already well-established toy brand, attempted to bridge the gap between the real world and the digital with Lego Dimensions. Some assembly required, of course. And while at first consumers were excited to snatch up every new set or series, it wasn't long before the novelty began to wear off. Soon, both LEGO and Disney had discontinued their Toys to Life games, and even Skylanders, the one that really started the whole trend, decided it would take a break after their last game Imaginators released back in 2016. It looked as if the fad was over, and it was going to take an out-of-this-world idea to bring these kind of toys back to life. First announced at E3 back in 2017, Starlink Battle for Atlas caught many by surprise with its plan to reignite our nostalgia for peripheral playthings. Now with a full hands-on available at this year's E3, I took the chance to speak with the game's creative director and find out what prompted this return into the realm of real-world toys.
So we were given this mandate to create something new and a new way to interact with a video game. And so there's been lots of prototypes being made. And at one point, this prototype emerged from the others. And it was something that just since the beginning was very magical. This instant, as soon as you put a piece on your controller, the piece appears instantly on the screen, and it's something that has always been magical since the beginning. So we built the game around that.
There's my ship. My monstrosity of a ship is in the game, and it flies.
The idea was to build on the magic of this innovation. So this is why after that we created this big open world and those fascinating characters to discover. So we think the whole thing together is really something that feels unique and exciting.
The Legion is growing. There aren't enough of us. We need to find help from every planet in Atlas.
Starlink Battle for Atlas is the story of this group of adventurers that we call the Starlink Initiative. And they arrive in Atlas exploring the stars in search of the homeworld of one of their team members. And right away there, they're going to get ambushed as soon as they arrive in Atlas. They're gonna get stranded on a nearby planet, and they're going to have to find who's behind the Forgotten Legion, the enemy who attacked them.
You must feed my legion.
What I love the most is seeing people who come to our media room or our booth, and then they try it, and then they're telling us like, wow, I'm surprised, like there's a game there and I had tons of fun.
It's got creatures on it. Hello.
Yeah, we had some players who build a ship. You know, some of the wings, they have 90 degrees orientation, and some of them have like 40 degrees orientation. And we've seen players putting some wings that were going vertically.
It works! It actually works.
And then they were staying behind a rock and shooting at weak points from there because the wings were going high enough to go over. You can have those emergent situations that can happen with how you build your starship. I think players are really enjoying discovering how big the world is and the depth of the combat mechanics. And so seeing that is a total blast.
I will finish this.
It's Ask SP time. So without further ado, and I mean no ado whatsoever, we want to be well clear of any ado and make sure all thoroughfares are free from ado too.
You don't know what ado is, do you?
Of course I do. Anyway, we have questions that need answers. So let's jump into this one from Moo in Cowtown. Moo, one question. 1. Is Animal Crossing coming out on the Switch? If you don't answer, I will send cows to eat your consoles.
Thanks, Moo. In answer to your question of whether Animal Crossing is coming out on the Switch, well, even though we saw no sign of it at E3 this year, Nintendo did acknowledge that the success of the mobile Pocket Camp and the enthusiasm for the game are on their radar. So that's something.
But one thing that did come out of E3 this year is that Nintendo says they're going to be announcing games closer to when there's concrete info, rather than teasing them years in advance.
So I guess that's not super helpful for predicting if or when a Switch version of Animal Crossing might come out.
In any case, I don't think it's healthy for cows to eat consoles. Although I did hear that cows actually have 4 stomachs.
Wow, is that true? I mean, maybe we should check with Darren on that one.
I think it would be tough to have 4 stomachs, you know, moo stomachs, moo problems.
Hello, Darren speaking.
Hey, Darren, we've got a cow anatomy question for you. Do cows really have 4 stomachs? And how bad would it be for cows to eat consoles?
Aha, there is a common misunderstanding that cows have 4 separate stomachs. In fact, cow stomachs are more so divided into 4 sections or compartments, each with a distinct function. But I don't believe any of those functions involve console digestion.
Sounds like quite the machine. Thanks, Darren.
No problemo. Ciao!
Wow, maybe if a cow did eat our consoles, it could put a different console in each stomach compartment. Actually, it's probably just better to stick with cow food for now.
You mean grass?
Yeah, that's it.
I agree. Moving on, and we have a video question from Bryn.
Hey, GGSP, guess what time it is? It's question time! 1. What are your top 5 Star Wars games on the Xbox One? 2. When will Update Aquatic for Minecraft come out on PC? Now to get out of here. Okay,
Wow, thanks, Bryn. Hope you teleported to somewhere fun. Make sure to keep an eye out in the mail for your awesome GGSP pin as well. And you're right, it is question time, but the fun video game-related kind, not the political kind.
To answer your first question about our top 5 Star Wars games on the Xbox One, well, I'd say the LEGO Star Wars games are pretty up there. LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens, as well as the Complete Saga, and LEGO Star Wars 3 The Clone Wars. Those last 2 are playable on Xbox One through backwards compatibility. There's all the great questing and puzzling we've come to enjoy from the LEGO games with the beloved Star Wars characters and story universe. The Clone Wars even introduces some real-time strategy elements.
Well, for me, the Force is the strongest in the RPG classic Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, which are also back-compat titles. There are a few other Star Wars games for Xbox One, but I'd say those are the games you're looking for. At least the ones rated G or PG.
Roger, roger. As for when the Update Aquatic for Minecraft will come out for PC, well, if you mean the Java edition, this is out now. It came out a few weeks ago.
And it should also be available on Windows 10 PCs too.
Now, because we got rid of all that pesky ado before, I think we have time for one more question. And this one is from Andrew.
You definitely don't know what ado means.
Well, much ado is about nothing.
Hello, GGSP. A couple of questions here. Good ones. 1. Is it possible to do couch multiplayer on Splatoon 2? 2. In Rocket League, what is your favourite banner? Thanks. P.S. Do these. Huh? Beard. Bye.
Hey, that picture looks like you, Goose. Look at that parentheses beard.
Well, my beard is made mostly up of parentheses.
Thanks, Andrew. In answer to your first question, unfortunately, there is no local multiplayer split screen option for Splatoon 2 on Switch, so multiple players can't play using the same console.
That's right. Instead, Splatoon 2 focuses on online multiplayer. Apparently, the creators made the decision not to include couch multiplayer because most of their players seem to play online, so they focused their development attention on that.
Which is kind of a shame in my opinion. I love me a bit of couch multiplayer.
Oh, well, as for our favourite Rocket League banner, for me, it's the Rocket, because kitties. Aww.
I'm going to have to go with the rare narwhal banner. The narwhal is the unicorn of the sea, after all.
Oh, yes, good choice. And on that note, I think that's all we have time for today. If you have a question you'd like answered, then head here.
And don't forget, send us a video for a chance to receive a GGSP pin.
So, Rad, if narwhals are the unicorns of the sea and unicorns are the unicorns of the land, what would the unicorn of the sky be?
Oh, maybe the Pegasus?
Oh.
Pegacorn? Or some kind of pointy-headed eagle?
Sounds dangerous.
Okay, Goose, these are troubled times we face. Do you have your rations?
Aye.
Your gold?
Aye.
Your axe?
No, I forgot that. I'm really sorry.
Somewhere in the darkness, I've been told, lurks an answer to all our desperate questions. Who makes sure it sees the light of day?
The Banner Saga 3 is the latest and final installment in Stoic Studios' The Banner Saga series of turn-based tactical RPGs. From its humble crowdfunding days, the franchise really set itself apart from other similar games by choosing to focus on storytelling, with lots of player-driven choice and consequence.
If you played the Banner Saga 2, well, this game picks up right where that game ended. The city of Arboran is under siege from all sides. You've got a rebel army of loyalists, a horde of creatures called the Dredge, and to top it off, an all-consuming darkness threatening to destroy the world and corrupt all living things in its path. You know, just a standard day in the realm of fantasy games.
For those Banner Saga veterans, you can import your save files into this game, and it'll take into account all your previous actions and decisions. If not, you'll start by picking a leader and watching a horned man get dribbled on by a giant serpent.
We were as far from safety as we could have been.
Ugh. Well, if this is your first time stepping into the series, or it's just been a while, then you'll be at a bit of a disadvantage because a lot of the character and story interactions rely on assumed knowledge. This can make your first few hours difficult to navigate as you stumble around plot point to plot point, trying to figure out who's good and who needs a sword slapping.
To be fair, that's what we get for jumping into the last game of a story-heavy trilogy. And to the developers' credit, they do try to outline the key characters and your hero's relationship to them, while still giving you the reins when it comes to those branching conversations. You'll be given a few options of dialogue to respond with that can range anywhere from save the helpless to pummel this guy. And depending on your choices, these can affect how the story unfolds.
And by the hammer of Thor, can things take a turn for the worse quickly?
Yeah, no kidding. I hate playing the bad guy. I hate it. I can't do it. I'm so bad at it. So I tried to play it safe and be everyone's friend, up until I had to convince a sect of Vaal warriors to go along with a risky plan. I kind of snapped at them, thinking if I put them in their place, I'd earn their respect. Instead, they abandoned me and I lost an entire faction of my army.
Ouch. Well, when you are faced with a difficult decision like that and it doesn't pay off, it can be tempting to want to go back and reload an old save file. But the game does encourage you to play out your mistakes. Jem, I did not expect to be stressing about what effect my dialogue choices would have, to the point that I occasionally had to get up, leave the room and go and ask for advice.
Me too! You'll be switching perspectives between your hero in Arboran and a hulking one-armed Vaal named Ivar, who's formed an uneasy alliance with a band of mercenaries to reverse the effects of the darkness. The two storylines are so compelling, but never overstay their welcome, bouncing back and forth to keep you invested in what's going on in both.
If you can't talk your way out of a fight, you'll be trying to pull yourself and your caravan of troops through battles of wit as well as brawn. Despite the brief tutorial outlining the key elements of combat, I'll admit at first I felt overwhelmed by the complexity. Each battlefield operates on a chessboard-like plane, with each side taking turns to move their pawns into action. At the beginning of a turn, you have the option to move a character before launching a physical attack, or using willpower to do a special attack.
When attacking, you have the option to damage either their armor or their health. This is where you really have to think about your approach, because enemies with a high armor rating will be able to deflect your attacks to their health. But a unit with a high health rating can also do more damage. So you constantly have to be thinking about what's more important in the moment.
Yeah, you really need to be thinking 3 or even 4 steps ahead if you don't want to get overrun, which can happen really quickly if you're not careful, especially during those wave-based battles. If you don't clear out enemies within a certain amount of turns, they'll signal for backup, which can very quickly see you being overrun. If you do succeed, you'll be given the option to flee the fight or continue on to the next wave, while also swapping out any injured party members.
This is another big factor to consider, because while none of us like running from a fight, sometimes you have no choice.
Ah! Never, Jem! I am Goose the Mighty! I never turn my back on a fight. I'm Goose the Strong, Goose the Magnificent, Goose the... Oh dear.
Yeah, oh dear. Characters knocked out in battle remain injured until they've had time to heal at camp, which could be 2 or 3 encounters later. So it's important to keep that in mind when picking a party. Try to make use of everyone to keep them all leveled up, just in case. This can be tricky because your XP or renown is finite. But trust me, it's well worth it.
Well, it's not all stress and struggle though. In between the fights, you're treated to some beautiful looking landscapes. The long stretches of wandering between areas gives you time to stop and admire all the detail and artistry that's gone into this game.
The Banner Saga 3 is absolutely stunning. The environments are something you'd see straight out of a fantasy book, and the hauntingly beautiful melodies by composer Austin Wintory are incredibly powerful. It's just a good-looking game, even if I wouldn't survive a day there. Final thoughts, Goose?
Well, Jem, while I did struggle to get into the story at first, I found myself becoming invested in these characters and their journey. I wanted to see them succeed, and it hurt when I messed up or I lost someone. That's a testament to not only good writing, but a genuinely compelling adventure. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 rubber chickens.
I've been thinking about the Banner Saga 3 since I finished it. Its story, its characters, its beauty. It's a slow burn, but it burns bright and has made me want to go back and play the first 2 games to see all this series has to offer. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 rubber chickens. So are those real?
Yeah, give them a pull.
Ah! Oh no, I want to go a Vikinging.
Nah, that's the spirit. You'll need some face paint though.
Yes! Next week on the show, we're heading back into the far reaches of the galaxy with the huge No Man's Sky Next update.
Plus, we go on vacation. Well, we review Go Vacation on Switch.
Make sure you catch up with all our exclusive online content. We've got crazy live streams and heaps more. Until next time, may all your games be good ones. Brad out.
Goose out.
Gem out.
To Valhalla.
That means you die.
Oh.